Question number 1. What could be the right answer for question 1? A mixture of ice and water is left to stand and ice melts. Which row describe what happened to ice as the ice is melting? Whenever there is a change in state, there is no change in temperature. So as the ice is melting, the temperature will remain constant or temperature will not change. So either C will be answer or D. But what happened, the energy the ice will take, that is used to break the intermolecular forces. So that's why D is the right answer. If the average kinetic energy of the particle increases, it means because the kinetic energy is proportional to temperature. So if the kinetic energy changes, the temperature will also change. So whenever there is a change in state, there is no change in temperature. So kinetic energy of the particle remains same. The energy is used to break the intermolecular forces or force of attraction. That's why D is the right answer. And I want everyone to participate. Question 2. Which piece of apparatus should be used to measure exactly 21.4 cm cube of water? 25 cm cube beaker means that's a maximum value which this beaker can record. So for this purpose, 50 cm cube beaker means, 50 cm cube burette. Why? Because the burette, the smallest value which a burette can record, that is 0.1 cm cube. That's the smallest value it can record. For a pipette, it can record a fixed volume. A 50 cm cube burette means maximum it can record 50, but the smallest value which is there in a burette, that is 0.1 cm cube. So if you want to measure, like example 21.4, 23.5, when you want to measure accurately to 0.1 cm cube, the most accurate apparatus is a burette. Measuring cylinder, it will like 1 cm cube or 10 cm cube or 20 cm cube. So 50 cm cube measuring cylinder will not have any marking of 0.1 because it will be accurate to 1 cm cube. This can measure only fixed volume. This also, a beaker is not having a mark of 1 cm cube. Normally beakers having like 50 cm cube, 20 cm cube minimum mark. That's why 50 cm cube burette is the right answer, as we want to measure to 0.1 cm cube accurately. These are the maximum values given, like a burette, 50 cm cube burette means maximum it can measure 50, but the smallest value which a burette can record, that is equals to 0.1 centimeter cube. Question 3. What is the RF value of the dye? The formula which we use to calculate the RF value is a distance moved by spot divided by distance moved by solvent front. And we always take a distance from the origin, the starting point. So from a starting point, the distance moved by spot is 9 till the center of the spot, that is 9, divided by distance moved by solvent front. So solvent front move 12 centimeters. So 9 by 12, that is equals to 0.75. Question 4. So question 4, atomic number Z is given, nucleon number A is given. How many proton, neutron and electron in potassium ion? So atomic number is representing a proton number and nucleon number is a sum of proton and neutron. There are 19 protons, so either A will be answer or B. But how many neutrons are there? 39 minus 19, so 20. And then number of the electron, because it is a charge, so to be a charge it should lose electron, or number of electrons should be less than number of protons, because it is a positively charged. Question 5. Everyone should participate and state the answer. Maybe your answer is wrong, that's not an issue. It's just a learning process. So try to try to say the answer. Because it's having one, Q is having one electron in the outermost shell, so we say it is a metal. And P is also having 7 electron in the outermost shell, it's a non-metal. Non-metal tend to gain electron, so P should have a valency of -1 and Q should have a valency of +1 because to react. And when metal and non-metal, so it should be ionic and they have the same valency simplified ratio. So the formula for the compound which is formed, it is equals to P into Q. Metal and non-metal form ionic compounds. Non-metal together will form a covalent compound, and within the metal there is a metallic bonding. Question 6. So question 6. Metals have a lattice of they don't have a lattice of negative ion, they have a lattice of positive ion in a sea of electron. So either C will be answer or D will be answer. But property explain the metallic bonding. So which property explains, because the metals can be molded into different shape or can be hammered into shape, or metals are malleable. This property explained by this description of a metallic bonding, that because the positive ions, a lattice of a positive ions and a delocalized electron, so when we apply the force, the layers can slide over each other. So as the layers can slide over each other, that's why the metals are malleable. So the property which is explaining the metallic bonding, that's a this part, metal will react with an acid to produce a hydrogen gas. This is not showing the any relation with the structure. This has to do with like how many what elements or what kind of atoms are present, but this does not give any idea about the structure. This is right that a metal can react with acid and produce hydrogen, but this does not have anything related to the structure, because the question they ask, property explained by metallic bonding. So metallic bonding explain that why the metals are malleable or ductile. As we apply the force, the layers can slide over each other. Question 7. Which statement explains why methane, which is CH4, has a lower boiling point? Two non-metals are there. So two non-metal, they have a covalent bonds are stronger. You don't say covalent bonds are weaker, but bond attraction between the molecule is weak. If you say covalent, these bonds are strong bonds. Covalent bonds are strong, but between the two molecules, the force is weaker in a covalent compound. This force is weaker, but within the molecule, the bonds are stronger. So you cannot say methane has weaker covalent bond. Methane has weaker attractive force than water. That's why it is having a low boiling point. Methane molecules are heavier than water molecule. When you find the mass 12 plus 4, 16 is there, and water you'll find it is 18. So that's also wrong. Methane molecule have more bond than water molecule. So when you write methane is CH4 and water is only two bonds. But the thing is, this does not have anything related to the question which is mentioning it is having a lower boiling point. So to have a lower boiling point, a weak attraction is there between the molecules. Question 8. A solution of iron 3 sulfate reacted with aqueous sodium hydroxide. So this is a very simple question. First, iron 3 sulfate. If iron 3 sulfate is there, so iron valency is plus 3 and sulfate valency is minus 2. So when you simplify the formula for iron 3 sulfate, it is Fe3SO4, sorry, Fe2SO4 in a bracket 3. So the formula for iron 3 sulfate should be Fe2SO4 in a bracket 3. So either C will be answer or D. But they mention a solution. So if it's a solution means it is aqueous. So which one iron sulfate is aqueous? We have C, the iron sulfate as aqueous. The aqueous means dissolve or mix in water. Like if something is dissolved in water, we call aqueous. If something is melted, like we have a water and we add iron sulfate in it. So we will call this aqueous iron sulfate, that iron sulfate or iron 3 sulfate. This is called aqueous iron 3 sulfate. But you have a, say, solid iron sulfate, you supply heat energy and it melts. Then you will call that as a liquid or a molten iron 3 sulfate. So the aqueous solution contains water, and aqueous solutions can be dilute or it can be concentrated. If you have any question like related to the MCQs or related to that topic, you can ask in this discussion as well. You can use a mic or you can use a chat to ask question related to the topic which we are discussing. Like here we are discussing about iron sulfate and sodium hydroxide. So you can ask any question related to this part. Next question. Haber process is a reversible reaction. So Haber's process is a reversible reaction. The reaction has 30% yield. And what is the formula for yield or percentage yield? The percentage yield or yield is equals to the practical value, like practically how much we'll get the product, divided by theoretical value of a product multiplied by 100. So they mention the volume of ammonia gas was measured at room temperature and pressure, obtained by 0.75 moles of hydrogen with excess of nitrogen. So nitrogen in excess and hydrogen is a limiting here with reference to nitrogen. We want to find, and it is 30% yield. So first what we will do, we'll use a mole ratio to find the theoretical value. like what is the mole ratio between hydrogen and ammonia. The mole ratio, because we don't know anything about ammonia, so we'll use a theoretical value to get the practical moles. So the mole ratio is 3 is to 2. Like 3 moles of hydrogen gives 2 moles of ammonia. But in the question we have only 0.75. So if you have 0.75, how many moles of ammonia will be there? X. So cross multiply 0.75 into 2, 1.5, and 1.5 divided by 3, that's equal to 0.5. So 0.5 moles of ammonia that we should get. That is a theoretical value. Theory suggests if we have 0.75 moles of hydrogen, we should get zero point 0.5 moles of ammonia. But because the yield is only 30%, so we know the percentage yield is 30%. The practical value, we don't know practically how much we are getting. Theoretically, we are getting only zero point 0.5 and multiplied by 100. So when you solve 30 multiplied by zero point 0.5, which is equals to 15, 15 divided by 100, that is equals to 0.15 moles of ammonia. So practically we'll get 0.15 moles. But in the question they are not asking about moles, they are asking about the volume. So how to get the volume of the gas? From the moles, the volume of the gas is equals to moles multiplied by 24. Moles are equal to 0.15 multiply, because the moles is volume divided by 24. So volume is moles multiplied by 24.15 multiplied by 24. So we'll get, what is the answer in DMQ? 0.15 multiplied by 24. That is the answer in DMQ because this 3.6 decimeter cube. So this 3.6 decimeter cube, but all the answer in CMQ. So to convert DM cube into CM cube, we multiply by 1000. So when you multiply by 1000, then it will be option A. So using the moles of hydrogen, we calculated the moles of ammonia, but these are the moles, theoretical moles. Like theory suggests, we should get zero point 0.5 moles of ammonia, but practically it will be less as the percentage yield is only 30%. So 30% of 0.5, it will be 0.15 and 0.15 moles multiplied by volume to get the volume in dm cube, and all the answer in cm cube. That's why we convert dm cube into cm cube by multiplying with 1000. Question 10. Dilute aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed. So dilute aqueous, it contains sodium ion, it contains chloride ion, it contains hydrogen ion, and it contains hydroxide ion. For positive ion, what we check? We check the reactivity. Always the less reactive will move towards the cathode. So which one is the less reactive here? Sodium and hydrogen. So hydrogen is less reactive. So hydrogen will move towards cathode. And for positive ion, we check, for negative ion, we check the amount. As it is dilute, so it contains more water. So OH will move towards anode in this example. And H will move towards cathode. So the correct answer is A. So positive ion, the less reactive ion from the electrolyte will move, and for negative ion, the ion which is more in the solution will move towards the anode, except sulfate, nitrate, and carbonates, even though they are more in the solution, does not move towards anode. Question 11. The electrolysis of aqueous copper to sulfate using inert electrode is shown. Inert electrode means like carbon or platinum electrode we are using. Which statement about the electrode is correct? So to be an aqueous copper sulfate, it should contain a copper ion, sulfate ion, hydrogen ion and hydroxide ion. So the positive ion, always the less reactive will move. So which one is less reactive? When you compare the reactivity, copper is less reactive, so copper will move towards cathode. So towards the cathode, the copper ion will move there. It will take 2 electrons, change to copper atom. And for negative ion, because sulfate, nitrate, carbonate does not move, so hydroxide ion will move towards anode. So when OH ion will move there, they will lose 4 electrons, give oxygen and 2 water molecules. Now we have to check the statement, which statement about the reaction is correct. Copper ion gain electron at the negative electrode, so that's true because negative electrode is a cathode and copper ions are gaining electron, so that's why A is the right answer. Copper ion gain electron, that's wrong. Hydrogen ions does not move because they are more reactive than copper, so the option A is the right answer. In this question, how you can know that which is more reactive and less reactive? That is by the reactivity series. The reactivity series you have to learn: potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, copper. So hydrogen is here. So you have to learn the reactivity. Hydrogen is there in the reactivity. It's between lead and copper. You will find this hydrogen. In this question, we need an overall energy change. Look, first thing, there was in the mock exam, there was some student did a small mistake. Like if it is written 2 here, they took 2 bonds. It's not about the how many molecule, it's about the number of the bonds. Like example, in the mock, it was written I2 plus Cl2 like it was written 2I2. So or it was written I2. So I2 does not means 2 bonds are there. I2 is a molecule. So you have to find number of the bond. In I2, there is a single bond between the two iodine. So I don't have to multiply this by 2. I have to check the bond. So best thing to do in these type of question, first draw the structure. CH4. So what is the structure of CH4? And there is only one molecule. So you will write CH4 as one molecule. Then O2. Between O2 means between oxygen belongs to group 6, so there will be a double covalent bond. And how many molecules are there? 2 molecules. That's why I will draw it twice. CO2, carbon dioxide, carbon belongs to group 4 and oxygen belongs to group 6, so they will share, and there is only one molecule. And H2O, so H2O means HONH, and how many molecules are there? 2, so I will draw the structure twice. So bond breaking, the reactant side is a bond breaking side and the product side is a bond forming. So bond breaking minus bond forming is equals to energy change. So for CH, the bond breaking, so 4 CH bonds are there and 2 oxygen double bonded with oxygen. And bond forming, O double bonded to C, how many are there? 2 plus OH 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be 4 OH bonds. So just substitute the values. Bond breaking minus bond forming is equals to energy change. And one more thing, without calculation, you can cancel the wrong answer. So how you can cancel out the wrong answer? When you check the type of equation, it's a combustion reaction. And combustion reactions are always exothermic. So C and D cannot be an answer. So you're left with A or B. So what is the right answer when you calculate the energy change? Bond breaking minus bond forming for question 12. So for 12B is the right answer. Reactant side is always a bond breaking side and the product side is a bond forming. And sometimes student confuse with, look, bond breaking energy was 2644 and bond forming energy is 3338. And when you take a difference, it is coming out minus 694, bond breaking minus bond forming. But student confused with the energy diagram, that when they make an energy diagram, they think that this is the energy of the particles. This is not energy of the particle, this is a bond energy. There is a difference between bond energy and energy of the particle. So for exothermic reactions, reactant particles have more energy and the product particle have less energy. So when you make an energy profile diagram for an exothermic reactions, reactant have more energy and the product having less. But this, when you check these values, it appears that bond breaking is less and bond forming is more. Because this is a bond energy is totally different thing compared to energy of the particles. So don't be confused with bond breaking and bond forming with energy diagram. Energy diagram is for energy of the particle, and here the bond forming and bond breaking is energy required to break the bond or energy release when the bonds are formed. Question 13. A hydrogen fuel cell, a device which is using hydrogen and oxygen to produce energy. So hydrogen and oxygen, they react to form water and release energy, which we can use. The electrical energy can be there any form depending on for what purpose we are using. So which statements are correct? Water is formed the only waste product. That's true. Both water and carbon dioxide. That's wrong. The overall reaction is hydrogen plus oxygen gives water. That's true. The overall react, because it is producing energy. If it is producing energy, it cannot be endothermic. It is exothermic. That's why A is the right answer. Question 14. Which diagram represent a chemical change? In a chemical change, new substance should be formed. So when you check the structures, you can clearly see that the combination changes. Indeed, a new substance is formed. Question 15. Question 15. So we changes the temperature, different temperatures, the reaction is carried out and you can clearly see the reaction rate is increasing. So what it shows, the kinetic energy of particle increase, so the collisions are harder. The number of the collision between the particle increase. The activation energy does not change. More frequent collision between the particles with enough energy to react. Like most of the particle have energy more than activity. Look, the number of the collision between the particle increases. That's true, but that is not explaining the whole idea that number of collision increase as well as they have energy more than activation energy. That's why it is leading to a formation of a product. So there are more frequent collision and they have enough energy to react, because as we increase the temperature, the particle have energy. Most of the particle or greater proportion of the particle have energy more than activation energy. That's why it will lead to a formation of a product. They are reacting. Even, for example, when the temperature is 20 they are reacting, when the temperature is 40 they are also reacting. But what is the difference between them? That the frequency of the collision changes, as well as, like if I say the activation energy, the temperature of the substance is 20, and the activation energy, the minimum possible energy which they required, that is example 10 joule. So at low temperature few molecules will have energy more than activation energy, so they react. But when we increase the temperature, the number of the collision, the frequency of the collision per second increases, as well as now greater proportion, because the activation energy is 10. So here also activation energy is 10, but greater proportion of the particle have energy more than activation. Like example, this is having 15, 11, maybe 11, 13, 20, 25. So greater proportion of the particle have energy more than activation. That is also a reason for increasing the rate, or rate increases with the increase in temperature. Number of collision increases, as well as greater proportion of the molecule have energy more than activation. Question 16. Which statement is not correct? This is about the reversible reaction. The equation shows an equilibrium between dinitrogen tetroxide N2O4 and nitrogen dioxide NO2. The color of the reactant and the product, N2O4 is colorless, where NO2 is brown in color. The forward reaction is endothermic. So if the forward reaction is endothermic, means the reactant have less energy and the product is having more energy. So which statement is not correct? At equilibrium, the concentration of reactant and product are constant. That's true. So this equation, this is true. So we want to find which is wrong, not correct. At equilibrium, the rate of forward is equal to rate of backward. That's also true. When the pressure is increased, the dark brown color is seen. Increase in pressure shift the equilibrium towards side where number of moles are less. So if I increase the pressure, equilibrium will shift towards left hand side. So it will get paler, lighter. It will not turn dark brown, because the amount of NO2 will decrease and amount of N2O4 will increase. So the color, because this is a colorless and the product is brown, so it will turn more colorless, means it will become lighter, paler. So when the pressure increase, the darker brown color is seen. That's wrong. So C is the right answer, because we want to find which is not correct. When the temperature increase, the dark brown color is seen. The forward reaction is endothermic. So if we increase the temperature, equilibrium will shift towards right hand side. So we'll get more product. So color will get darker. So this statement is also true. So C is the right answer for this. Question 17. The equation of two reactions of iodine are shown. Which statement is correct? To identify the oxidation or redox reaction, you can identify in terms of oxygen, you can identify in terms of charges. Look, when you check the charge, iodide ion, silver ion, and form silver iodide. So silver is +1 and iodine is -1. So it shows that reaction 2 is not a redox reaction. Why? Because there is no change in oxidation number. Iodine is -1, it remain -1, and silver is +1, so it remain +1. So there is no change in oxidation number for reaction 2. What about reaction 1? Iodine is -1, it becomes 0. If -1 becomes 0, so means this changes oxidation. So other substance should be reduced. So one is oxidation, another one is reduced. That is why only the reaction 1 is a redox reaction. Iodide -1 becomes 0. If -1 change to 0, it means oxidation happened. So means the other substance which is reacting should be reduced. So this is a redox. But why this is not a redox reaction? Because when you have a compound, in a compound the oxidation state is same as their valency. If they form an element, like example, when iodide ion and silver ion were forming a silver atom and iodine molecule, then it will be a redox reaction, because in element form their oxidation numbers are 0. But when they form a compound, the oxidation number is same as the valency or the charge. So -1 remain -1 and +1 remain +1. So this is not a redox reaction. But this one -1 becomes 0, that as an element is formed, so that's why it is a redox reaction. Because if one is oxidized, the other one should be reduced. Question 18. The graph shows the pH of a solution changes as an acid is added to an alkali. Which letter represent the area of the graph where both acid and salt is present? Acid and salt. Acid means the pH should be less than 7. Because in this region, when you divide this into regions, this whole region is an alkaline region. And the bottom, you have acidic region. So only part which is in acid region is D. So you will have acid here, means all of the alkali is used up. You are left with acid and the salt which is produced. Okay, so I'll share another link and continue this discussion from question 19 onwards.